Part 8. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 71. Chapter 71. A kid taller than me. Ji Shen, who had just gone to school to make a fuss at noon, was already at home. He was talking to Ji Momo and Wang Milan in the room. Having ruined his reputation in front of his class, he can now rest with peace of mind. Is the old man at home? Why don't you go visit the old man first? Of course, if you don't have time, forget it, Shen Yun asked Ji Shui in front of him. Grandpa is not at home. As you know, Grandpa is usually quite busy, unlike me who is still a small employee, Ji Shui said with a smile. Shen Yun looked at Ji Chang, who was talking to someone in the study, and didn't say anything. The courtyard is not that big, and soon the two people came to the backyard. Second aunt, come out quickly, Yun is here to see you, Ji Lan started to say hello from afar. Ji Shen, who was talking about how hateful Shen Yun was in the room, and Ji Momo, who was supportive, immediately shut their mouths. Shen Yun put a smile on his face and put on his best face to greet those who spoke ill of him. Ji Shen walked out after a while. Didn't you come even if I invited you? Why did you come to the door of your own accord? How dare you not come? If you don't come, judging from your appearance, I will be expelled from the school. After all, I am a student in Shangaogu now. I can't compare with the Ji family in Beijing. I'm scared, Shen Yun said sarcastically. Hey, how could that happen? Ji Shen has the temper of a child. He has been like this for so many years, don't you understand? In fact, he just misses you. Besides, you have lived in the Ji family for more than 10 years, and you still don't understand the temperament of our family. You will never take your family's power outside to show off your authority. When Ji Shui heard what Chen Yun said, she glanced at Ji Shen with an unclear meaning, and then said unhurriedly. Whether you don't want to show off to others, or you don't dare to show off to people who are more powerful than your own family, this matter needs to be discussed. Anyway, in my previous life, I experienced the Ji family's prestige for your own good. Sister, don't explain to her. Anyway, since my sister came back, her nose is not a nose, and her eyes are not eyes. She said she wants to sever ties with our family, and I don't know if she can't let go of our family's luxurious life. The aggressive method adopted. If a white-eyed wolf like her wants to say something outside, we can't stop her. Ji Shen said angrily. You naughty kid, what are you talking about outside? I asked you to take your sister in, so why did you say it at the door? Don't mind it, Ji Shen is still a child. Wang Milan may have heard what people outside said in the yard, so she hurriedly walked out and patted Ji Shen on the back a few times. Shen Yun gently looked at the child who was taller than himself and said nothing. Shen Yun, don't mind. Ji Shen also feels sorry for her mother. If she hadn't missed you, she wouldn't have made Ji Shen run away several times. I didn't expect you to be so difficult to ask for. Hey, it's my fault too. If I hadn't stayed in Beijing at that time, my mother and you would still be living together. You also know that Ji Shen has been pampered since he was a child. Like you, he can't stand anger. However, after all, Ji Shen is the male of the family. You should give him some mercy occasionally. Ji Momo interrupted at the right time. This passage is really meaningful and speaks from all aspects. It not only shows her pity, but also shows that Shen Yun is not generous. In one sentence, all of this was made possible by Shen Yun Zhao. Okay, you two, stop talking. Let's go in with Mom. Wang Milan looked a little unnatural when she heard Ji Momo's words, but she reacted quickly, scolded, and stepped forward to hold her back. Chen Yun's hand. Shen Yun ignored the moment when Wang Milan held his hand stiffly, and followed him naturally. Since they have come back to make them uncomfortable, why not go in and listen to what they are going to do? After all, I am a poor student now, so I probably have no use value. Follow Wang Milan into the house and sit down. Yun, Mom just misses you. After hearing about the situation at your home from Momo, Mom was so worried that she couldn't sleep all night long. Now that you are doing well, Mom is relieved. Wang Milan took Shen Yun's hand and looked at Shen Yun and said, "Look at Shen Yun's delicate skin, which is white and rosy, and her hands are delicate and smooth. They are not at all the same as what she thought the calloused hands would look like." Sure enough, what Momo said is right, she has become beautiful again in this period of time. He is indeed a poor man. No matter how he is raised in his own home, he always looks thin and malnourished. He has become like this just a short time after returning to the village. Look at Ji Momo again, she has become chubby and white, but her skin quality is not as good as Shen Yun's. But thinking about Momo's rough life for more than 10 years, it is all the fault of the Shen family for not raising their daughter well. See how well you have laid the foundation for their daughter. The water in the mountains is pure spring water, and I am the only girl in the family. The whole family pampers me and I don't have to work. I have taken good care of myself during this period of time," Shen Yun said with a smile. Hearing this, Wang Milan was a little disdainful. What good things could a poor family in the mountains have? It was indeed not her own daughter. After raising her for so many years, she still looked short-sighted. But there was no expression on his face, and he still said with a smile, "This puts me at ease. Although Momo is my biological daughter, you have been raised by your mother for so many years, and you can't just talk to me because of a few words from your brother. The students are divided. You have to know that your mother has always been good for you over the years. Just like last time, I thought about myself and my biological daughter getting to know each other, and I couldn't bear to see you separated from your biological parents, so I was cruel to let you when I went back to recognize my relatives. I just thought that since you are also studying in Beijing, when you get married to another family in Beijing, the Ji family will be your natal family." Wang Milan took Shen Yun's hand and said tenderly, as if she was afraid that Shen Yun would not understand her. Within a month, she seemed to have forgotten what happened at that time, and now all her appearances seemed to be for Shen Yun's good. Shen Yun didn't care what she said now. Anyway, she would never forget what happened in her last life when she and the Ji family pushed her into a pit of fire. Just looked at her quietly with a smile. Wang Milan didn't expect that Shen Yun didn't pick up the problem. She had already said this, why is this girl still acting like a fool and not responding at all? This time in the countryside, she has become even more dull. Although she was not lovable before, she knows how to look at her. The wink, no matter how you wink now, you won't know it. Wang Milan felt suffocated in her heart, but looking at the pair of children next to her and thinking about her eldest son, she suddenly lost her temper. Since he is no longer his own child, why are you angry? End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 72. The person introduced to you in Chapter 72. It's like this. Mom is thinking that you don't have many connections in Beijing now. With your current family, it will not be easy to find a family with better conditions in Beijing in the future. Mom wants to introduce you to one first, so you two are in a relationship, and you will get married directly after graduation. What do you think? Wang Milan held Shen Yun's hand and said thoughtfully. Ji Shen has been looking for him several times. Is it just for this reason that he wants to find a partner for himself? What a good family. Momo is the same age as me. You should consider her first. I am the eldest son of the Shen family. After graduation, I will return to my hometown to honor my parents. After all, they have not had much time to get along with each other in so many years. You can't bear to leave me, Shen Yun refused with a smile. Not to mention that he doesn't want to find a partner now. Even if he wants to find one, he can't ask the Ji family to help him find one. After all, he found someone for himself in his last life and sent him directly to the research laboratory, which cost him the rest of his life. Isn't the lesson harsh enough? How can Momo talk about the partner? She is still a high school student. Now the partner's own conditions are not up to the standard. You are different. You are already a sophomore. You will graduate after studying for 2 more years. Anyway, you are studying your major is not good either. Do you, a girl, really dig dirt like those men and spend all day with those burial objects? Wang Milan persuaded patiently, as if everything was for her own good. Shen Yun looked at the natural expressions of the other 2 people in the room. Apparently, he had no objection to Wang Milan's statement. I don't think there is anything wrong with what she said at all. Sorry, this major is my favorite. I only applied for this major so that I can engage in archaeology in the future, not to increase my capital for marriage. Shen Yun shook his head and said. In my previous life, when I was still the daughter of the Ji family, my family was very dissatisfied with Shen Yun when the admission notice came out. After that, Shen Yun was basically left alone when she went to school. In this life, I am no longer the daughter of the Ji family, and now I want to think about marrying myself. Didn't he know what kind of family he was introducing to him? If it was that person in his previous life, he would give him a knife first to save him from joining an evil organization and causing harm to others in the future. Yun, you don't understand now. You thought you could support yourself by going to college. You don't know how much living expenses are in Beijing now. Let me tell you, the person my mother introduced to you is now working. People said that if you are willing to get engaged to him, then they will be responsible for your college living expenses and tuition fees. It will not be easy for you to see your biological parents' family, and your mother cannot bear to see you working too hard. Otherwise, let's arrange a meeting first and then make a decision. Wang Milan doesn't give up. Chen Yun looked at the flash of schadenfreude in Ji Momo's eyes and knew that it would definitely not be his turn to be a good person. There was still a 25-year-old Ji Shui in the Ji family who was not married yet. Auntie, if there is nothing else, I will leave first. After all, I have been here for a long time, and Momo feels uncomfortable. Last time, she felt uncomfortable when she saw my mouth. Even my father looked down on her and started pointing fingers in front of everyone. Looking at my father, I also blame my father for having spoiled her for so many years. But she and Ji Shen are exactly the same, so they are brothers and sisters. I would like to congratulate you on getting 2 children of such high caliber. I won't waste your time. After all, it will be evening soon, so I'm sure you don't want to invite me to dinner. Chen Yun didn't give anyone much chance, he got up and walked outside. Since I've come here myself, it's unreasonable to say that I'm a white-eyed wolf. As for whether Wang Milan was very angry because of her coming, that was beyond her control. Hey, why are you so rude? Mom hasn't finished speaking yet, Ji Momo called from behind. Shen Yun ignored the shouts from behind and walked straight out of Ji's house. As soon as she left the house, her face changed to a depressed look. Now Shen Yun is not as stupid as she was in her previous life. She insists on keeping the family scandal to herself and swallows all the pain in her heart. Now she understands that a proper show of weakness can even cause no harm. The softness of others can also cause others to gossip. As expected, Shen Yun hadn't walked a few steps when he saw a few ladies in front of him approaching, gossiping. Is that so? Why do you leave right after you come and don't want to have dinner here? A person asked with a look of concern. As soon as Shen Yun saw these words, the people next to him turned their gazes towards him. Sure enough, the common people in the imperial city also like to hear gossip. I just came here to have a look and don't want to cause trouble to my family. It's only been a few days since school started and Ji Shen has gone to my class to cause trouble twice. My parents have no power in the family now, and I am afraid that I will not be able to study. Ji family, forget it, since they asked me not to be shameless, then aunts and uncles, I won't say more to you. I came here on leave at this time, so I'm leaving first. Chen Yun said something true and false, and immediately left the place. Since Ji Shen would go to his own class to ruin his reputation, he didn't mind giving him publicity. You can't afford to suffer such a boring loss. I hope that the rumors at home during this period can make the Ji family warn Ji Shen to stop coming here to cause trouble for him. Shen Yun happily stepped out of the alley and passed an oncoming car. Shen Yun keenly felt the gaze in the car, but when he looked over, he saw that the car over there had gone far away, and the license plate was not one he recognized. Shen Yun didn't pay attention to this matter and went directly back to his residence. Thinking about how he hadn't written a letter to his family for so long, Shen Yun immediately picked up a pen and paper and started writing one letter to his grandparents, and another to his parents. I also wrote a letter to my aunt. After all this time, my uncle should have finished taking the medicine and asked how the test results were. It was the first time in his life to write letters to relatives far away. This feeling was quite strange. Shen Yun thought about his usual study life with great interest, and then wrote all these without reporting the good news or the bad news. Go up there and greet everyone at home again, that should be enough. Shen Yun thought about it and seemed to have nothing to add, so he folded the envelope with satisfaction. Going out to find the post office, I directly posted the 3 letters. Then he turned around and walked towards the snack street next to the school. There were also clothes sellers there, with good quality and low prices. Shen Yun scrapped 2 sets of clothes in the few days he came to Beijing and put back 2 sets of special department work clothes. But Shen Yun will not only I have to work and go to school, so I still need to buy more clothes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 73. Chapter 73, the 3 views are consistent. It's not yet dinner time, so the snack street is not the busiest yet, but stalls selling food have already been set up. Shen Yun smelled the strange fragrance all over the street and decisively turned into the clothing store next to it. I simply bought 2 sets of clothes, and I still have more than 500 left in my hand. Shen Yun was a little worried thinking about how quickly he was scrapping his clothes. If this continued, he would have nothing to wear before his first salary was paid. Carrying my clothes, I felt that the snacks on the street no longer tasted good. Why is it so difficult to make money? Do you have to get gold to buy it yourself? Just as I was thinking about it, I looked up and saw Hu Yan and 3 people over there. Shen Yun put his thoughts aside and said, "Hey, what a coincidence, you guys are here too." "Shen Yun, didn't you go to your adoptive parents' house?" The 3 people saw Shen Yun and immediately came over happily. "I'm gone, I'm not coming back." "So fast?" "I heard from the squad leader that Ji Shen looked very anxious, so he asked us to come over to you quickly, because we were afraid that we would miss something and make you regret it for the rest of your life." "How are you okay?" Hu Yan asked in a low voice. "It's okay. It's an urgent matter. He's called me a few times. I just thought it was quite embarrassing in the past, so I never went. I didn't expect him to go to the boys' dormitory to cause trouble. Nothing happened when I went there. And he sarcastically said that the major I studied was of no use and asked me to find a good man, saying that a high degree of education is just to enhance my value in the marriage market. When I heard this, I became angry." Shen Yun and his roommate. They whispered what Wang Milan said. Being able to play with Shen Yun is because they have very compatible views. In addition, they are the only 4 girls who are choosing archaeology this year. They chose it because they really like this major. This time I heard Shen Yun say this. immediately said that this is futile thinking and is unacceptable. Then he happily asked Shen Yunyi to have dinner. Several people sat together at the rice noodle stall where they often eat. "Aren't you working hard in the library? How come you have time to come over for dinner?" Shen Yun asked curiously. These three people are really working hard. They set the goal of taking the postgraduate entrance examination as soon as the school started. I remember that Shen Yun was also with them in his previous life. We have worked hard together, but Shen Yun plans to let nature take its course in this life. I haven't eaten here for the whole summer, haven't I? I already came out of the library in the afternoon, so today is just a day off to relax. I didn't expect to meet you. Are you here to buy clothes? Yeah, buy 2 pieces of clothing and wear them interchangeably, Shen Yun said with a smile. The few people chatted here and there, but they were not talking about anything about the Ji family. After dinner, Shen Yun went back to his residence, they went back to the dormitory, and they separated outside the snack street. It was past 7 o'clock in Beijing, and there were still a lot of people in the evening. When Shen Yun walked on the road, he could meet people walking in 2s and 3s, and he could also see people rushing home. In the alley where he lives, many houses have turned on their lights. Shen Yun has been living there for almost a week, and he still hasn't figured out whether this is a dormitory for a special department. Anyway, he has never met anyone he knows. Even next door to my own home, I haven't seen anyone come back. Shen Yun pushed open the door of the small courtyard, went back to the room, washed and cooled his clothes, and continued into the space. I first practiced the physical training technique for half a day. The physical training technique during the Qi training period was relatively simple, but the subsequent ones were more difficult. Not only did it require a long period of training, but also medicinal baths and elixirs were added. These medicines are not ordinary medicines. Shen Yun is dizzy looking at the prescriptions anyway. There are only a few in the space. Shen Yun is now wondering if he can collect some medicinal materials. When the foundation building period comes, he cannot let go of the body refining technique. In the future, I will become the strongest sword practicing alchemist. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. Shen Yun practiced even more vigorously. After you have mastered the physical refining technique, you can continue to practice swordsmanship. Only after the spiritual energy in your body is squandered, Shen Yun will go to the immortal mansion to meditate and practice. Shen Yun found that every time he practiced again after the spiritual energy was exhausted, the effect was very good. These are no exception. She successfully stabilized her cultivation at the 6th level of Qi training. The whole person looks more restrained and perfect. With the thought, people immediately left the space. Today is Monday and there is a class in the morning. Shen Yun has no plans to give up her studies for the time being, so she still goes to class on time every day and listens carefully. I carefully prepared breakfast for myself, and just as I was about to eat it, I heard the sound of the door opening next door, which had been silent all this time. Shen Yun didn't want to use his spiritual consciousness to pry into other people's privacy, but he directly heard the voices next door. With a quick glance of consciousness, it turned out that it was Yan Han who was sending Yan Han, who was sitting in a wheelchair and staying in the small yard next door. My part-time boss lives next door to my house, but there is no worse news than this. The rice in Shen Yun's mouth no longer tasted good. However, looking at Yan Han's miserable look, Shen Yun later remembered that he had blocked the work this time, and it had nothing to do with Yan Han. This could be regarded as dragging him down. Shen Yun silently apologized in his heart and ate faster. Looking at the closed door next door, Shen Yun had no intention of going in to say hello. After attending classes all morning, she went directly to the vegetable market and bought a big pig's trotters and some ribs, planning to make some soup for the severe cold next door. After all, I will still have to worry about Yan Han when I encounter things that may be related to my enemies in the previous life. Although this is a good thing for the country, I still feel bad about it. After the pig's trotters were stewed, Shen Yun knocked on the cold door next door. "Hello, are you looking for Yan Han?" The person who opened the door was a beautiful sister. Shen Yun didn't use his consciousness to look around when he came, so he didn't find anyone else in Yan Han's house. Looking at the beautiful young lady, she must be Captain Yan's lover. He didn't know if he was disturbing others at this moment. "Excuse me, is Captain Yan at home?" Shen Yun asked politely. "Here, are you his colleague? You brought something here for Yan Han." The beautiful sister was very cheerful, smiled gently, and directly welcomed Shen Yun in. Shen Yun looked at the young lady in front of him and sighed that Captain Yan was really lucky. How could such a beautiful girl like Captain Yan's cold face? "Yes, I heard that Captain Yan was injured. I stewed some pig's trotters. Could you please give it to him?" Shen Yun didn't want to go in and make a sense of presence at this moment. His partner was here, and this was his territory. Shen Yun directly handed the lunch box to the girl in front of him. "The cold is inside the house, do you want to go in and take a look?" The girl took the lunch box and asked in a polite and warm voice. "No, no, I have something to do in the afternoon. You can just hand it over to me." Shen Yun just wanted to run away now. Yan Han is a hard-working man, and he is probably too busy to spend time with his girlfriend every day. "I was finally injured, so I should still wink a little." End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 74. Chapter 74, Stewed Pig Trotters to Mend a Broken Arm. It sounds very appropriate as expected. After waving to the pretty young lady, Shen Yun quickly walked towards the door. "Why are you running? Your house is next door. If I leave, I won't be able to find you." The cold voice sounded from behind, without any ups and downs. Shen Yun didn't want to think about it, but for a moment he thought of the scene where he and his partner were quarreling. Could it be that he was older in his previous life, so he suddenly thought of this thing? Shen Yun's consciousness moved, he cleared the thoughts in his mind, stood firm, and regained his previous composure. "Captain Yan, I saw you moving here this morning. I heard that your bones were broken. They said you could eat them to mend them. I stewed a pig's trotters for you to mend your broken arm. I won't save any more. You can eat it while it's hot." "Okay," Shen Yun said with a serious face. Stewed pig's trotters to mend broken arms, it sounds very appropriate. Yan Han was still not feeling well, and the young lady next to him suddenly laughed. "Thank you. I heard that your ribs are also cracked. Please don't work too hard next time." Shen Yun thought Yan Han was going to say something, but he didn't expect Yan Han to say thank you directly. "It's okay, it's just a convenience. I also want to eat, so I won't delay your meal. I'll go back first," Shen Yun said politely, turned around and walked out, directly returning to his home. "The radish and pork rib soup that I stewed by myself is suitable for me, even though my bones have grown." After finishing lunch happily, Shen Yun knocked on the door next door again. "Come in, come on in. I just found out that you live next door. They say that distant relatives are not as good as close neighbors. Coincidentally, you are also Yan Han's colleague." As soon as the door opened, Shen Yun was greeted by the bright smile of his beautiful sister. Shen Yun was instantly nervous. She's not used to strangers being warm to her. What should she say? "Well, I came here to ask Captain Yan something." "Yan Han is fine." The beautiful sister turned around and started calling Yan Han. "Come in and sit for a while," she invited. "No, no, I'll leave after asking about the matter." Shen Yun waved his hand quickly. Seeing Yan Han coming out, he quickly asked, "Captain Yan, which hospital are Teacher Su and the others in? Can I go and have a look?" "At Beijiao Hospital, you should be discharged in 2 days." Yan Han directly gave the address. "Okay, I won't disturb you anymore, I'll leave first." Shen Yun bowed his hands and hurried away. "Brother, are you too strict with your subordinates? Why do you feel that the little girl is a little afraid of you? Yan Qing turned around and looked at her cold-faced brother. Although he was very handsome, this cold face looked really cool to him. It's uncomfortable, let alone others. Is there any? There are still people she is afraid of, Yan Han thought carefully. Although the girl Shen Yun looked polite, with her strength, there is probably no one she can be afraid of. Sister, if you are fine, just go back, don't ask questions here. Yan Han looked at his gossipy sister and drove her away. If my mother hadn't been worried about you, you think I would have come here? Yan Qing didn't smile as brightly at Yan Han as she did at Shen Yun. Go back. If you stay here for another 2 days, I'm really afraid that my condition will get worse. I'll explain it to my mother, Yan Han said impatiently. That's not okay. I came here just to see that you don't act nonsense. You haven't gotten married yet, and you haven't given birth to lovely grandchildren for my mother. My mother told me when I came here. Even if you talk about it, you are not okay. I can't leave either. This time I gave a death order. After Yan Qing finished speaking, she moved a stool and sat next to Yan Han, determined to carry out the old mother's order and watch the person closely. Yan Han looked at Yan Qing, who looked at him tenderly, turned around and walked towards the house. Shen Yun here left Yan Han's house and walked directly towards the place where he bought the bicycle. The northern suburbs are not close to here. Shen Yun is only in the stage of practicing qi and cannot fly, so he can only buy a bicycle to travel. After receiving the car, Shen Yun rushed directly towards the northern suburbs. The passers-by saw a shadow flashing before their eyes, and rubbed their eyes thinking they were dazzled. And Shen Yun had already left here quickly on his bicycle. Shen Yun rode his bicycle to Beijiao Hospital in half an hour. This hospital looked like it was recently built, and Shen Yun felt a faint yin energy as soon as he arrived. Looking up again, I saw that the corridors on the 3rd and 4th floors of the hospital's inpatient building were full of people. Shen Yun's eyesight also improved after he cultivated, and now he could see Su Zhang on the edge at a glance. Zhang Yuwei, who came back to look for someone, was reminded by Shen Yun and was also found by the special department. He was currently showing off in the corridor on the 3rd floor. Seeing everyone coming over, Shen Yun felt relieved. At a glance, the yin energy on these people is basically negligible, and they don't feel as weak as they did a few days ago. After parking the car and looking at the gatekeeper downstairs, Shen Yun walked over directly. Hello, I would like to visit you upstairs. The patient's condition is special, and family members are not allowed to visit, the gatekeeper said seriously. Captain Yan asked me to come here. Shen Yun moved out of Yan Han. Are you from the department? The gatekeeper looked at Shen Yun carefully. Yes, new colleague. Shen Yun nodded. The other party said with a straight face, take out your ID and take a look. Shen Yun looked at the person in front of him carefully and said, when I was at the headquarters a few days ago, Captain Yan asked you to touch stones, which are glowing stones. I happened to pass by at that time. Hearing what Shen Yun said, the expression on this man's face immediately relaxed a little. This happened a few days ago, and only internal personnel could go to the headquarters. Thinking of this, the man looked at Shen Yun with admiration in his eyes. Hearing them say that there is a new overlord flower in the department, which is amazing, could it be the girl in front of him? He even talked to her. What should I do if he is a little excited? Ahem, let's go up. The man took a step to the side, and the stairs behind him leaked out. Shen Yun thanked him and went straight to the 3rd floor. The first one I saw was Su Zhang. Teacher Su, are you feeling better? Shen Yun met Su Zhang's eyes as soon as he walked up. Much better. I looked like you just downstairs. How about it? The West Village wasn't destroyed? Su Zhang asked with concern. Shen Yun thought that the battlefield that night was all in the north of the ancient tombs, and the ancient tombs were basically untouched. Don't worry, teacher, there is nothing wrong there. After you guys feel better in a few days, we can probably continue digging there. That's good. I'm worried these days and I can't go out. Fortunately, you come over and tell me. Su Zhang's mood brightened visibly. Teacher Su, how have you been feeling these past 2 days? Are you feeling better? Shen Yun asked with concern. The people who came here are all pretty good, but when I counted them, there seemed to be one missing person. This person had not been treated outside, and I don't know how he was doing when Shen Yun and the others passed by that day. He was already sick and confused. Then when he saw Shen Yun, he suddenly remembered that they had hired foreign aid. He had looked at both floors in the past few days, but he never saw anyone. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 75. Chapter 75. The cook of the archaeological team. You mean there is another person? Shen Yun immediately asked. Yeah, haven't we been in the West Village for a while? We hired a cook to help cook every day, and occasionally help with digging. This time, I see that everyone has come over, and there is no such cook, right? Have you arranged to go elsewhere? Su Zhang said carefully. Then what is this person's name? Shen Yun continued to ask. What's it called? Wait a minute and I'll ask, Su Zhang said and turned to ask the person next to him. Lao Zhang, you hired that cook, right? Do you know his name? He mentioned the specific name of this at that time. When you ask now, I really can't remember it. I just remember that his nickname is Lao He. Teacher Zhang heard Su Zhang's question and slowly walked towards this person. Bian walked over. Teacher Zhang, where did you find this person? Does anyone else know his name? Shen Yun looked at the person coming over. It was a senior he had never seen before. I guess not. Lao He doesn't like to talk very much. I'm looking for him because he seems to be honest and responsible. I haven't seen him talking to a few people in the West Village, Teacher Zhang said and turned around to ask. Once again, as expected, everyone said they didn't know his name, they just knew that everyone called him Lao He. Then do you remember what he looks like? If you remember what Lao He looks like and can draw, come here, come on. I've forgotten him for so many days and I don't know what happened to him, Su Zhang shouted to the people next to him. He was really worried. After all, people were cooking for them, and they should also bear some responsibility if anything happened. Su Zhang's words immediately made the people next to him start to move. After a while, a good painter came over. Shen Yun directly asked him to draw a portrait of Lao He, and then asked Teacher Zhang some other questions. After waiting for more than an hour, I got a simple portrait sketch. This is what I remember about Lao He. But I am also very busy at ordinary times. I only saw him a few times when I was eating. Let's take a look at it first. Wrong. After the man finished the painting, he lit it up for everyone to see. When everyone saw it, they all said it looked like it and there was nothing to add. The man turned around and handed the painting into Shen Yun's hands. Then, teachers and brothers, I won't stay here any longer. In your case, you should be discharged from the hospital in a few days. I'll go find the whereabouts of this old black man first. Shen Yun glanced at the portrait and put it away. Said. Go, go. When everyone heard that Shen Yun was looking for someone, they waved their hands to signal Shen Yun to leave quickly. Shen Yun went downstairs directly. All the patients that night must have been sent here before leaving, Shen Yun asked the gatekeeper. They were all sent here, even the 2 people who were injured earlier came directly here for treatment, the gatekeeper replied seriously. Okay, thank you, goodbye. After saying that, Shen Yun got on his bicycle and walked away quickly. I have to go to the West Village, and this person also needs to investigate. Shen Yun's cycling speed is no slower than driving. She can even ride a bicycle faster on bad roads. By the time Shen Yun arrived at the West Village, it was almost evening again. The entire ancient tomb area has been cordoned off, and a few people are watching here. Shen Yun saw his old acquaintance Su Lei from afar. Chen Yun, Why are you here? Sule saw a bicycle coming quickly from a distance. When he got closer, he saw that it was Shen Yun. Come and take a look at the situation here. By the way, can you show me the place you mentioned? Shen Yun put the car away and looked around. It's not as foggy as the last time we came here. The whole place is much clearer. Only a little of the yin qi remains. In 2 days, the yin energy should dissipate naturally, and Shen Yun was relieved. Okay, come with me, Sule nodded. Shen Yun followed Sule and walked inside. In addition to the half-excavated ancient tomb in the surrounding area, the soil on the surrounding ground was plowed into pits. We dug carefully according to the place indicated by Mr. Zhang, but unfortunately nothing was dug out. Later we discovered that the things seemed to have been dug away. In the past 2 days, I have also asked the villagers nearby. They don't know who buried the tombs here. No one noticed that there were 4 more coffins here. Our people carefully identified them. It's not like these people were lying. Sule said carefully. This is a bit strange. The 4 coffins are not one. It is impossible for them to appear here out of thin air. Besides, the coffins are not small. If they are carried by people, there will definitely be movement. If they are pulled by a car, the movement will not be small. We can identify it. Is he reliable? Shen Yun asked Sule on the side. Don't worry, this is someone you can trust. We are also wondering. We have cooperated with the public security to investigate to see if there are any missing persons there recently. The research laboratory is also testing the corpses, Sule carefully said. When we arrived, we discovered this pit by accident. We all dug it with shovels, but this one was dug by hand. Sule pointed at the pit in front of him and said. Shen Yun saw a small pit half a man deep in front of him. The soil on the edge was indeed full of fingerprints. It seems that this person's skills are not weak. Not far from the pit is a small forest. In this weather, when the vegetation is lush, as soon as one enters, the area cannot be seen. It is an easy place to hide. Shen Yun looked carefully and scanned around with his consciousness. Nothing was left behind. It seemed that this person was also very cautious. Have you been to the woods over there? I've been there. There are no clues. Sule nodded. Shen Yun, who was originally going to go in and take a look, also gave up the idea. He didn't say whether he would find anything when he went in. Even if he found something, it might not be what he was looking for. There were too many people in the woods and the atmosphere was already mixed. There are no clues. By the way, I have a portrait here. Take a look. Shen Yun took out the portrait he just got and showed it to Sule. This one is with the archaeologists. They invited it to cook. It's not at Beijiao Hospital, and I don't know if what happened here has anything to do with this person. Can you give me this portrait? Sule took a closer look. The person in the portrait was not conspicuous at all. It just gave him the impression that he was thin and gloomy from the picture. Okay. Shen Yun handed the portrait directly to Sule. He remembered the portrait at a glance, so it didn't matter if he gave it to him. Because of his experience in the research laboratory in his previous life, Shen Yun had more trust in Sule. If you find someone, tell me. I want to see if he created these things. If it is true, he is really a powerful person. Shen Yun made a small request. Don't worry, the captain said that if you participate in this case, the rest of the matter will not be hidden from you. Sule nodded in agreement. Shen Yun smiled and expressed his gratitude, and did not stay here longer. He looked around and left directly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 76. Chapter 76. If you don't regret it, that's the best. By the time we got back to our place, it was completely dark. Looking at the light coming on next door, Shen Yun didn't bother him and pushed his bicycle into his small courtyard. After picking some grown vegetables from the space and making a simple dinner, Shen Yun went directly into the space. Cultivation, physical training, and sword training all filled up his time in one night. As he encountered these few things, Shen Yun had a hunch that his spiritual energy might be revived much earlier in this life than in his previous life. She urgently needs to improve her strength now. Even if this premonition is groundless, there is nothing wrong with improving one's own strength. The next day, Shen Yun came out of the space feeling refreshed. He practiced without any breaks throughout the night, as if he had stretched out all the tendons in his body, making his body feel particularly relaxed. After having a simple breakfast, Shen Yun got on his bicycle and walked towards the school. This morning, there were more people on the road, so Shen Yun did not go too fast, but slowly moved forward with the army of bicycles. By the time we arrived at the school gate, the time was about the same as usual, but the speed inside the school was faster. Shen Yun entered the classroom before class. Just in time to see the monitor over there alone, Shen Yun walked over directly. "I'm sorry, monitor. That Ji Shen was my former brother that day. I didn't expect him to make trouble with you. I'm very sorry. I've already been to their house. If something like this happens in the future, you should ignore him and let him just come to me." Shen Yun didn't have time to say anything since he was busy attending class yesterday, and he just wanted to express his apology today. "It's okay, we don't have any influence. Anyway, you can handle the matter yourself. We are all classmates. If you have any difficulties, just tell us. There are more than 10 boys in our class who are afraid of him." The monitor laughed. Said. "It's been taken care of, don't worry, our classmates don't need to take action," Shen Yun also said with a smile. The two of them exchanged a few simple words, and then returned to their seats after seeing other students in the class coming over. It was another full morning of classes. Shen Yun was not as uncomfortable as he was in the past few days. However, when the teacher taught him these days, he remembered all the related content. Learning this aspect can be considered as getting back on track. At noon, Hu Yan and the others dragged him to the cafeteria and beat him up. Then, with the persuasion of the 3 people, Shen Yun followed him to the library. As a result, we arrived late. The 3 of them were occupied by someone who often read books together, and Shen Yun had no place. "How about we find an empty classroom to watch?" Hu Yan was embarrassed because she insisted on dragging Shen Yun over. "No, you 3 are reading. I'm going to see if there are any books I'm interested in. I just want to borrow a few." Shen Yun waved his hand and walked directly towards the library next door. The library of Peking University is not small, with several floors and a huge collection of books. Shen Yun's current life actually takes up a large part of his time for cultivation, which can only be spent in class and between classes during the day. During the rest of the time, he has to study things related to cultivation when he has free time. She had read many books in the library in her previous life, but she couldn't remember them clearly before. Now, as her cultivation level improved, the vague contents gradually became clear, which saved Shen Yun a lot of time. Shen Yun spent half an hour looking for a book of mountains and seas and a natural history book. He planned to go back and take a look. There was an egg in his spirit beast bag. He didn't know what it was. He hoped that these books could be given to him. A little thought. Shen Yun took his student ID card to borrow books. "You guys look here first, I'm going to the classroom where I have afternoon classes." Shen Yun came to a few people and whispered. "What book did you borrow?" the 3 people asked in a low voice. Shen Yun directly leaked the cover of his book. Several people nodded immediately after seeing it. "They can read miscellaneous books anywhere. Okay, see you in the afternoon." Shen Yun waved his hand and left the study room directly. There were not many people on campus at noon. Shen Yun was not in a hurry and walked slowly. Her long hair was gently blown by the wind, entangled with the ginkgo leaves falling from the tree, and then separated again. The whole figure looked like a woman stepping out of a painting of a lady. "Hey, there aren't many people here at noon, so who are you hanging out with here?" A chuckle came from not far away. Shen Yun looked up and saw a big peacock in full bloom, which was a bit irritating to the eyes. The adulterer sees adultery, the wise sees wisdom. Obviously this is your idea, not mine. It seems that I will talk to your mother another day. Your desire to get married is obvious, so don't be too busy giving me the outsider, introduced me. Shen Yun glanced at Ji Momo and immediately looked away. Shen Yun, don't be arrogant. Do you think you are still the same person you were before? You are a country bumpkin in the valley with no money and power, and you still don't know a good heart. You think that if you are more beautiful, you can find a good family. Now our G family is giving it to you. If you don't want it, then don't regret it in the future. Ji Momo pointed at Shen Yun's face and said, "Sorry, I don't like people pointing at my face." Shen Yun reached out and slapped Ji Momo's finger. "I definitely won't regret it." "As for whether you will regret it, it's hard to say." Shen Yun reached out and slapped Ji Momo's finger. After Yun finished speaking, he didn't intend to waste any more time with her and walked forward directly. "Bah, I will regret it? What are you thinking? I am from the G family now. I will become a big star in the future. You can only dig graves in the wild. As for Professor, don't think about it. Everything about you is mine." Ji Momo looked at the calm-looking Shen Yun with sinister eyes and muttered in a low voice. Shen Yun heard it clearly and chuckled casually, "It's all yours, everything is yours, but I don't know if you dare to accept it." Thinking again about the Shen family's spiritual root test results, Shen Yun couldn't suppress the smile on his face. "No regrets, that's the best." Shaking away the sound of flies buzzing in his ears, Shen Yun went directly to the classroom where he would have classes in the afternoon. "I flipped through the books and read slowly. It wasn't until class in the afternoon that I put the books away and started listening to the lectures." After a whole day of classes, Shen Yun turned down Hu Yan's invitation from the library and went straight to his home on his bicycle. Shen Yun was not very fast. Hearing the sound of the horn from behind, he reflexively moved to the side. Then he saw a black car drive directly past him, and then turned directly, blocking his way forward. Shen Yun braked suddenly and stepped directly on the ground with his feet. Even though she has a good temper, she is angry now. If you have eye problems, go to the ophthalmologist. If you have mental illness, the 6th hospital will also welcome you. You are so majestic on the road. You are tired of living, Shen Yun said to the open window. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 77. Chapter 77, I died too early in my last life, so I didn't have to dig a grave. The little girl has a bad temper. I'm sorry that I didn't think carefully. A man stepped out of the driver's seat, dressed in popular southern clothes, with a big back and oily hair, and exaggerated sunglasses, which was incompatible with the entire street. If he was sorry, there was no sign of apology on his face. Shen Yun raised his finger and wanted to move it, but thinking of the evil organization in his previous life, Shen Yun retracted his hand. "Since it's your fault, please let me go," Shen Yun said with a cold face. "Oh, I was careless and offended the beauty. I just want to get to know you." The man didn't leave, but came up to her. "Stop, keep your distance," Shen Yun shouted directly. The man felt the soles of his feet drop and could no longer move forward. My eyes couldn't help but glance at the ground. There was nothing there, and I didn't step on anything. But he still stopped. "That's it, let me introduce myself first. My surname is Lu and my name is Lu Qing Song. I was introduced by Mrs. Wang of the Ji family." You must have gotten to know me before. The man took off his glasses confidently. For a moment, Shen Yun really wanted to press his glasses back again. The inexplicable confidence in his eyes and the face with archaeological value were directly exposed to Shen Yun's sight. Shen Yun felt even more uncomfortable than when he saw the beautiful Ji Momo. I don't understand, I don't know, and I don't want to know. Shen Yun directly lifted the bicycle to the side and planned to take a detour. Let go of your hand. Shen Yun looked at the extra hand that appeared on his handlebar, and his anger level continued to rise. Wang Milan can really do such a thing. The man in front of her is almost 40, and she has the nerve to introduce him to her. In her previous life, she blamed herself for dying too early and not digging the Wang family's ancestral graves. Oh, that's right. It's just like Aunt Wang said. She looks good. I'm very satisfied. If you follow me, I'll make sure you enjoy the hot food, continue your studies, and I'll solve all your problems in life in the future. Don't worry, have you seen my car? I'll get one for you in the future. With your little face, I don't want you to be exposed to the wind and sun while riding a bicycle. When you give me a fat son in the future, everything I have will be yours. The man pulled Shen Yun's car handle and turned a deaf ear to what Shen Yun just said, and just said to Shen Yun. Shen Yun didn't know how Wang Milan felt when she heard a man who looked older than her call her Aunt Wang. Anyway, she felt like her heart was going to be unstable at this moment. What the hell? Shen Yun took a book from the front frame and rolled it up carefully. Shen Yun has only seen this one person in his 2 lifetimes who dared to stop a girl in the street so arrogantly in this era. Lu Qingsong opposite looked at Shen Yun's movements and was confused, but now he was satisfied with everything. He looked at Shen Yun, and he couldn't take his eyes off the pair of catkins. Shen Yun rolled up the book, looked at the dirty hand on his bicycle, and hit it directly. Suddenly there was a sound like a slaughtering pig, and the man covered his fingers and kept jumping. Shen Yun directly threw a cleaning technique on the handlebar. What's going on? Come and take a look. People nearby heard the shouting and came over in a swarm. Uncles and uncles, aunts and uncles have to make the decision for me. I just got out of school and I was blocked by this person. He pulled me and refused to let me go. I don't know what this person is going to do. He is still here at this moment. You don't want to blackmail me. When it was time to show weakness, Shen Yun was no longer as strong as in his previous life. When the people next to him heard what Shen Yun said, they looked at Shen Yun and then at Lu Qingsong, and they immediately understood that there was nothing to investigate. This man wanted to commit a gangster crime. We really didn't treat them like this on the street. The masses take it too seriously. Facts have proved that the people of the motherland are still very enthusiastic, and they arrested people on the spot. A group of people gathered around to take the person to the Public Security Bureau. A few kind-faced ladies came to Shen Yun's side to carefully comfort him. Girl, this is not your fault, it's the old boy's unkindness. Let's go to school. Well, in the future this will have no impact on you. Anyway, this man was arrested and nothing happened on the street just now. We are all watching. Don't worry. We will go to the Public Security Bureau later to report the truth to the police. Comrades. The aunties nearby were chattering away, and Shen Yun just nodded beside him. Thank you, aunties. If it weren't for you, my parents wouldn't be around, and I probably wouldn't have known how I would have been bullied. Shen Yun said gratefully. Don't be afraid. We are at the base of the imperial city here. Anyone who dares to do illegal things will be put in jail. Even if your parents are not around, our police comrades can make the decision for you. Just like the person who has a little money but doesn't know how high the sky is. I need to be punished. Well, everyone said indignantly. In this way, a group of people went directly to the Public Security Bureau. Shen Yun didn't even have time to speak, and everyone explained clearly what happened. You all don't know the situation. What are you messing around with? Her mother set up a match between me and her. Comrade Public Security, I want to sue her. Look at my hands. The bones must have been broken by her. Lu Qingsong was the only one. People, they would angrily talk to the policeman next to them. What nonsense are you talking about? Whose real mother can be so cruel as to introduce a pretty girl to someone like you? If you become a father to other girls, they think you are too old and ugly. You are also a matchmaker. Comrades from the police, you have to investigate clearly. Don't believe what he says, the person next to him immediately retorted. We have a clear understanding of what happened. Don't worry, we will definitely investigate who is right and who is wrong and handle the matter impartially. Come and take a look at this confession. If there is no problem, just sign it and go back. We will ask the person involved, the policeman said in a good-tempered way. Okay, we believe you. Everyone comes here to sign and testify. When these people finally left, Lu Qingsong, who had been complaining that his hand hurt, was sent for examination, and Shen Yun began to be questioned. What is the situation like? This is what Shen Yun said. As for Lu Qingsong's hand, it will not be broken, but it will hurt for several years. The cause cannot be found out through examination. As for whether he can ask cultivators to solve it for him in a few years, Shen Yun can't control it anymore. Sure enough, it was proved that Lu Qingsong's hand was fine after a while, and Shen Yun was released. She rode her bicycle slowly towards home. Passing by the black car parked diagonally on the side of the road, Shen Yun quietly moved his fingers. The four tires gradually began to leak, and the entire engine also received a stream of water and froze. After doing all this, Shen Yun felt that the anger in his heart had subsided. He returned home as if nothing was wrong and made himself a hearty vegetable dinner. Shen Yun went straight into the space and practiced swordplay all night. He stopped moving only when his strength was exhausted. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 78. Chapter 78. What a coincidence, I met an acquaintance. It seems like there is a devil living in her heart, and if it is not resolved, it will become a demon on the road to cultivation. Shen Yun sat on the spot to calm down, and started meditating directly on the spot, calming down. When his heart was completely calm, he guided the spiritual energy to slowly enter the body. After his body was filled with spiritual energy, Shen Yun left the space. Looking at the slowly rising sun outside, Shen Yun took a deep breath. It's a new day, and we have to continue living. After breakfast, Shen Yun rode his bicycle to school just like yesterday. From a distance, I saw Ji Momo and Wang Maiken walking outside the school, their faces full of anger, and they couldn't even keep their ladylike looks. She must have known that the person she introduced to her had been cheated, and he would come to cause trouble for her. Shen Yun checked the time, turned the front of the car, and blended directly into the crowd and entered the school. It was time for class, and I didn't have time to tell her that I was deliberately trying to trick people. Wang Mailan and Ji Momo over there did not stay at the school for long and hurried towards the Public Security Bureau. Shen Yun attended class comfortably for a whole day, during which he kept hiding from the mother and son of the Ji family who were trying to find him. After class was over in the evening, I quickly left the school through the back door, dodging the few people at the door. Shen Ji looked at the angry expressions of the mother and son, and then looked at what Ji Shen wanted to say but didn't say it. Shen Yun suddenly felt a little better. A few days ago, I was sitting at home arrogantly waiting for him to come to visit me. If he didn't go, he would come to school to make trouble. Now that the three of them have come, they are not as arrogant as they were a few days ago. It seems that the man named Lu is not a simple person, and Shen Yun doesn't expect this little thing to really do anything to him. Anyway, his stupid hands will be useless in the future. Shen Yun hid for 3 days. The Ji family might not be able to bear it anymore. Wang Mailan called Shen Yun directly in class. Shen Yun, who is Shen Yun, The teacher heard Wang Milan's words and looked at the people inside the teacher and asked. The teacher is me, I'm going out to take care of some things. This was a big class. Shen Yun stood up and said. Okay, you go first, call out if you need anything. The teacher looked at Wang Milan's unkind look and said. Shen Yun nodded and walked out directly, following Wang Milan to the flower bed not close to the classroom. Aunt Wang, what do you want from me? Forget about introducing someone, just spend more time watching Ji Momo reading. After all, she seems to be in her third year of high school now. She doesn't have classes all day, so what's the point of going out for a walk? What's going on? If people don't learn well from now on, do you think it's the Ji family's fault or our Shen family's fault? Although the Shen family is poor, they have kept her going to school for so many years. Chen Yun put his hands in his pockets and looked at the angry Wang Milan with a smile. You don't have to worry about this. Tell me what you did to Lu Song. You don't even look at your current appearance. You are the daughter of an old farmer in Shanwuo. Although you are a bit prettier, you are not as beautiful as you are. There is no shortage of beautiful girls in Beijing, so don't think too highly of yourself. Do you think Lu Song is a rich man in your town? He is the boss of Jingxi Communications and is worth millions. You are an ordinary little girl. I will introduce you to you. If you become successful, you will not have to work hard for the rest of your life. Well, you are good. If someone says they are treating you like a gangster, do you think they are so short-sighted? Wang Milan said angrily. It can be seen that what she did must have damaged her interests a lot. Shen Yun raised his eyelids and glanced at Wang Milan. What he didn't know was that Lu Song was her son. He seemed to be fighting against injustice. He felt angrier than when he scolded Ji Shen a few days ago. I was not the only one at the scene, many people saw it. Now that people have gone in, what do you want to do when you come to see me? Shen Yun looked at Wang Milan at the side with an expressionless face. What did you say I wanted to do with you? I have been asking Ji Shen to come to you for the past 2 days. He said that you have been avoiding him, otherwise there would be no need for me to come to you now. In the past 2 days, you only need to go to the Public Security Bureau and tell me it's all a misunderstanding. Just get the person out, but that can't be done now. I want you to go over and apologize, Wang Milan said angrily, not at all like the loving mother she pulled Shen Yun to say that she missed her. You mean people have come out now? Shen Yun's voice couldn't help but lowered. What do you think? I really think that people are as poor and powerless as you. Let me tell you, you'd better be more sincere when you apologized in the past. Just do whatever they ask you to do. The result is already there. It's all about my face, otherwise I don't know what others will do to you, Wang Milan said. I did my best, you have to remember. When did the second wife of the Ji family have to be so humble? It seems that this person is indeed quite rich. Thank you for your efforts for me, but I will not go to apologize. If you want to go, I will not stop you. Please tell Lu Song that if he wants to do anything to me, please come over quickly, because I am barefoot and not afraid of wearing shoes. Chen Yun said with a smile and turned around to leave. What happened just a few days ago? People came out in just 3 days, it is impossible not to be angry. But thinking about Wang Milan's attitude, Shen Yun could also understand why. On the way home, I saw that the black car parked on the side of the road had been towed away. Shen Yun was not in a hurry to go home. He followed the aura mark left by him and rode his bicycle towards the imperial city in the center of the city. Lu Song has indeed come out, and Chen Yun's aura mark is in a large courtyard. His consciousness was not far enough, and Shen Yun did not see Lu Song's people, but he could see the extravagance of this family. Shen Yun walked around outside the courtyard wall and watched a big show. Lu Song was indeed quite young. The children were all about the same age as him, and they were not born to the same mother. Although the whole home is magnificent, there are also many intrigues over family property. This kind of person is still a good candidate for Wang Milan. This is really exchanging oneself for the last benefit. Think about the inadvertent envy in Wang Milan's eyes when she talked about the Lu family's millions. Maybe introducing herself to this person is the first step, and the Lu family's wealth is the last step. After all, although the Ji family is somewhat powerful, it is not really rich. As mentioned before, under the imperial city, one brick can produce 3 5th-grade officials, and many 7th-grade officials. The Ji family would have fallen directly into the 4th-rate family had Mr. Ji not been alive. In the last life, such a 3rd-rate and 4th-rate family harmed itself. Shen Yun turned around and left the place directly. Let's first see who helped Lu Qingsong, and then we'll figure out what to do next. With twists and turns, Shen Yun planned to take a shortcut from the alley. It was rush hour after get off work, and it was much easier to walk inside the alley than outside. After turning a corner, Shen Yun stopped the car without walking far. What a coincidence, I met an acquaintance. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 79. Chapter 79 Lao He. Shen Yun stopped and didn't move, his consciousness looking directly towards the inconspicuous courtyard behind him with a crack in the door. A man was leaning weakly on a chair in the yard, and all the yin energy in his body overflowed outside the door. That dark face with a hint of black and purple was extremely ugly. If it weren't for the faint rise and fall of his chest, one would have thought he was a dead person, the kind that would transform into a corpse after death. After investigating clearly, there was only one person in the whole room. Shen Yun turned the car around and walked towards the house. Seeing that there was no one around, Shen Yun knocked on the door symbolically, then opened the door and walked in. "Who are you?" The man heard the noise and opened his eyes with difficulty to look over. His voice was hoarse and unpleasant, as if it had been squeezed out. "It doesn't matter who I am, what's important is that you are about to die, and I am the one who can save you." Shen Yun's consciousness circled around the room and took it back directly. There was no trace of other yin qi in the room. The biggest source of yin energy in the entire yard is the person in front of you. "Save me? Do you know what's going on with me?" The man stared straight at Shen Yun. His eyes were so lifeless that it made people feel scared. Shen Yun stood aside comfortably and did not move. "Don't you know what you've done yourself? If I'm not mistaken, you are Lao He. Did you work as a cook for the archaeological team in the West Village a few days ago?" Shen Yun looked back at him, carefully look at the look on his face. "What's again? Why can't I understand what you say? I'm just a sick person. If you have good intentions, then save me. If you don't have such good intentions, then leave. You have also seen that my family has nothing, I am the only one, let me destroy myself here." When Lao He heard Shen Yun talking about West Village, his expression didn't change much, but his eyes looked towards the door. Originally, Shen Yun saw that there was a slight difference between this person and the portrait provided by the person on the archaeological team, and he could not judge yet. However, the strong yin energy in his body, coupled with the expression and tone when speaking, although he tried his best to keep it consistent, when it comes to Nishimura, there is still a slight difference in tone. "Don't be nervous. The teachers on the archaeological team all got a strange disease. They were afraid it was an infectious disease. They drew your portrait and asked people to look for you everywhere. I also happened to pass by here, and I just happened to be careless. I saw your face through the crack in the door. The people in the archaeological team are quite worried about you." Shen Yunfang softened his voice. Hearing that the other party was from the archaeological team, Shen Yun's tense muscles relaxed as soon as he came in. I've never heard of the archaeological team. You must have mistaken the person. Leave my house quickly. Lao He looked at the girl in front of him and relaxed his vigilance. Shen Yun originally wanted to do something, but when he heard her say this, he took the initiative and said, "Are you worried about spending money? Don't worry, the archaeological team will provide the money. I am also a student of Teacher Su, so I can guarantee this." "No, no, I told you that you got the wrong person. Leave now. If you stay here any longer, I will call someone." The man roared and waved his hands, as if he was in a state of madness. Shen Yun didn't say anything else. He pushed the car out of the small yard with a helpless expression and closed the door thoughtfully. Out of the courtyard gate, Shen Yun put away his helpless expression and turned around and entered a dead end next to him. With a thought in his mind, the bicycle disappeared directly on the spot. Shen Yun hid in a deserted corner, and his consciousness went directly to the small courtyard just now. Lao He in the yard was still sitting there without moving. Shen Yun waited for a while before he slowly got up and walked into the house. Although he looked like he was about to die, he still walked quite steadily. Shen Yunji saw him pull out a stack of newspapers from under the bed, and then opened it carefully. Shen Yunji noticed a photo inside. He stared at it for a long time, then carefully put it away. After putting down the things, I noticed that the old black man with a dead look on his face had a little firmness on his face, and he turned around and walked outside. Shen Yun watched the other party open the door and followed him directly. Although Shen Yun has no special training in this aspect, it is still very easy for a 6th level Qi practitioner to follow an ordinary person. The whole alley is full of twists and turns. If it weren't for the help of someone in front of him, Shen Yun would never have known that many cracks could be passed through. Shen Yun didn't know where he was going, but the person who could let him drag his sick body out must be a very important person. Although I don't know if he is related to the person who dug up the evil weapon, but he looks like he is only about 50 years old, and he has a sinister look, but he does not go to the hospital. It is said that he is facing death calmly. He just entered the room to look at something. It looked like he was still concerned. Shen Yun decided to follow the past to find out. The gradually darkening night gave the people in front good cover. Shen Yun didn't get close either. He just used his spiritual consciousness to watch where he was going, and then followed him. Walking in the courtyard, like a person who has just come off work, he is inconspicuous. Lao He dragged his tired body around on the road for more than an hour. There were almost no pedestrians left, and he stopped in front of an inconspicuous house. Shen Yun watched from a distance and saw him standing at the door and hesitating for a moment before raising his hand and knocking on the door slowly. "Who is it?" a bright female voice sounded in the room. "Girl, it's me, your dad," Lao He said slowly. Shen Yun was slightly disappointed. She thought he was here to meet his online boss, but he didn't know that he was here to meet his daughter. "Why are you here? Didn't you say you shouldn't come over if you have nothing to do?" The woman inside changed her tone when she heard the voice outside. From a distance, Shen Yun could see the look of disgust on the face of the delicate woman under the dim light. "I just came over to take a look at you. Don't worry, I won't come here again." Lao He looked at his daughter's attitude and said quickly. "Xiaoxiu, it's our dad here, why don't you invite someone to come in and sit down?" A gentle voice sounded from inside the room. "Where are you sitting? You abandoned me when you were little, but now that you are older, you think of me." After the woman finished speaking, she slammed the door. Shen Yun was quietly waiting for Lao He's next move from behind. Unexpectedly, after a while, the door on the tube opened again. A thin man came out. "Dad, Xiaoxiu has this temper. She is hard-spoken and soft-hearted. Look, you have prepared some food for me. Let's sit down and have a drink somewhere." The man pointed to something not far away. Shen Yun was originally waiting for Lao He's next move, but he was stunned when he saw this man. This gentle and lean man would never forget it even if he was a ghost. In his previous life, he was locked in a research room. After his spiritual energy was exhausted, he was the one who suggested to open the dungeon to have a look. He was also the one who did it, and that day was the time of his death. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 80. Chapter 80, Seeking Skin from a Tiger. Shen Yun tried hard to control his mind, clenched his hands, suppressed the trembling Qingfeng sword in his dantian, and took a deep breath. The consciousness continues to explore the past. He is just a little Luo in the research room, and now his main task is to find out the person behind it. Why are you here? Didn't you tell me to come here? Do you still want to give Xiaoxiu a good life? After the two people sat there, the young man Shuiyi was still smiling just now. As soon as he sat down, his expression changed. If you dare to treat Xiaoxiu badly, I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost. I've done everything you asked me to do for you. If you don't keep your promise, I'll go and expose the good things you did, just in time to show Xiaoxiu your true face with a human face and a beast heart while she doesn't have a child yet, Lao He said gloomily. I'm worried now. You won't be able to survive for a few days if you look like this. Even if you reveal the matter now, do you think Xiaoxiu will believe you or me? The man said with a low smile. The dark environment concealed the cruelty on his face. You. Lao He couldn't help but tremble all over after hearing Shuiyi's words. Only then did he realize that he was seeking skin from a tiger. Okay, while you're still alive, have a sip of wine. You may have never had such a good drink in your life. Shuiyi chuckled and poured wine into the cup. Lao He looked at the wine in front of him, picked it up and poured it into his mouth. Xiaoxiu is so kind to you. No matter what, you must treat her well. I have helped you with the matter. You have also seen my condition. I don't know what kind of disease I contracted this time. I don't think I will survive for a few days now. Whatever you ask me to do will be taken underground by me, Lao He said with heavy breath. Xiaoxiu is my wife now. How I treat her and how we get along in the future has nothing to do with you. After all, Xiaoxiu doesn't recognize you anymore. Shuiyi took a glass of wine and sipped it slowly. What is that thing? Lao He thought about it for a while and asked his question. When he dug up this thing, his hands were so cold that he could barely feel it. Now that he thinks about it, it's weird. Moreover, someone asked about his home today. He was not sure who the woman in the afternoon was, whether she was investigating or she was really from the archaeological team. Anyway, after so many years of living, he still behaved calmly. You don't need to know this. Knowing too much will do you no good. Shuiyi gave Lao He a threatening look. I just want to remind you, please be careful and don't do anything illegal or indiscipline. It will be bad for Xiu. Don't you find it funny that a person who has never done anything good in his life is now trying to persuade me? Okay, please leave quickly. When I see your face, I can't help but think of what you did to my parents. Over time, this is very bad for Xiu. Shuiyi said with a half smile. Okay, I'm leaving. You must not hit Xiu. Please tighten that thing. I heard that something happened over there in the West Village. Lao He panicked and held his hands on the ground, climbed up with difficulty, and staggered. He left this place without even daring to look back. Shen Yun listened to the conversation between the two people and stood still. Hand held Qingfeng, who had taken it out at some point. He watched the man over there gently crush the wine glass in his hand, and then walk towards the room carrying the things. When I saw this person in my previous life, all my aura disappeared, and I thought this person was just an ordinary person. But the little bit of evil energy that leaked out the moment he crushed the cup proved that this person was definitely not simple. It seems that he asked Lao He to pick up the things in the West Village. Turns out he started doing bad things so early. Shen Yun looked at the tall, harmless man, sneered, and put away the Qingfeng sword. There are always flaws in life, so there is no need for you to commit anything that violates the law at this time. Standing outside the house, I scanned my consciousness and found that there was nothing. The whole room was cleaner than Lao Hei's place. Shen Yun stood quietly in a hidden place, watching the couple fall asleep normally. After confirming that Shui Yi had really fallen asleep, Shen Yun rushed directly to Lao Hei's house quickly. He quietly opened the door and went in. Looking at Lao Hei, who was even more exhausted than in the afternoon after going out, Shen Yun said directly, "Do you really think a person with murderous intentions can treat your daughter well?" "Ahem, why are you here again?" As if he was startled by Shen Yun's sudden appearance, Lao Hei began to cough violently. Shen Yun saw that his whole body was covered with yin qi, and his whole body was filled with strong death qi. This man could not be saved, and he might die tonight. "Get out of here quickly!" Lao Hei came over slowly and stared at Shen Yun closely. Shen Yun stood still and said, "It is said that gamblers do things with a gambling mentality. It seems that you are an old gambler who bet your daughter's future on a person who doesn't even care about human life. What do you think of that person? What will you do to your daughter if you get tired of it?" Shen Yun said slowly. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lao Hei clenched his fists excitedly when he heard what Shen Yun said. "Am I talking nonsense? Do you know what the thing you dug out from the West Village is? It's a big killer. If someone hadn't found something abnormal in the West Village, the entire archaeological team would have been killed. Ji doesn't even spare innocent people. How do you think his enemy's daughter will be treated?" Shen Yun asked sharply. Now Lao Hei finally couldn't keep his calm expression. Thinking about the people he indirectly killed more than 10 years ago, his hands couldn't help but tremble violently, and his whole body began to breathe heavily, as if he had just been fished out of the water. Come the same. Yes, how could he let Xiaoxia go? Lao Hei finally recovered and said with a look of defeat. "Want to save your daughter?" Shen Yun asked softly. "Is there any way you can help my daughter?" Lao Hei seemed to be grasping the last straw. "You tell me everything you know first, and then I can judge. How do you want me to believe you? It's okay if you don't say anything. I will catch him the moment he commits a crime. I just don't know if you dare to bet on who he is harming." The calmer Shen Yun acted, the more Lao Hei thought. "Many." After waiting for half the payment, Lao Hei finally spoke. "It was Shui Yi who asked me to go to the West Village. I didn't know what to do at first, but suddenly someone came over that day, and Shui Yi asked me to go dig something by the woods over there. I took advantage of the chaos to dig out the thing. The thing was a dagger, and it was full of cold air. I later gave the thing to Shui Yi. I don't know where he put it. I just know this. I hope you can tell me. And Yuxin, help my daughter." Old Hei slowly told everything he knew. End of this chapter.